Hi, Nina.
Hey Max,
What time is it?
it's coaching time.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone. And Chris, first of all, welcome from our side to the Generation Coaching Podcast. It's really cool to have you on our podcast and to have this conversation with you today. Just wanted to maybe briefly introduce you. You're a founder of Mela Sunglasses. You're the host of the Happiness Podcast. You teach breathwork to world leaders. You consult in ethical advertising and marketing. And you're a public speaker, and you recently spoke at the Greater Festival amongst people like Tony Robbins. I had to write this down because it's so much that you do. What else do we need to know about Chris that you would like to add?
Hey, well, first of all, hey, and warm welcome from Barcelona. I think from professional side you got it. Like I also think private life is very important. So I would like to add that my big passion is of course like seeing different cultures in the world. And I recently did a 3 months world trip, which was one of the best ideas I have ever had. And my big passion is foot volley. You know, like which is beach volleyball, but you use your hands and you don't use your hands. You use your feet and chest or head.
It's amazing. I actually saw that video of you playing it, and I was like, when I come to Barcelona, it's one of the first things I might need to try because I'm big into football. I loved volleyball in the past, and now it's a combination of both. So yeah, really exciting. The main topic today will be, I guess, breathwork, which is something that's close to your heart, something close to our heart, and we think is really powerful. But before we dive deeper into that topic, I also wanted to ask, like, the Chris that you are now versus the Chris that you were when you grew up in Munich. What's the big difference between those two people?
That's a great question. So I would say I would say the big difference is like like learning the wisdom and actually applying the wisdom to your life, right? So the Chris that grew up in Munich was as passionate as the Chris now of like reading every book on happiness. It was just harder to apply it, right? Like like when you're younger, you don't have the discipline to wake up and actually write the 5-minute journal, to wake up and actually meditate, to wake up and actually do breath work. So it's like now there's more. It's easier to apply what was things to a life, and also now the Chris in now has like worked hard to build a life where things are flowing in an easier way, right? So like that you've built financial freedom, you built abundance on certain things, you built your dream life. So a lot of things are in a modern world you can work hard now to enjoy in the future, right? And that will be some of the changes.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
How did you build that? Like, how did you build like financial freedom? How do you manifest these days?
So I would shout out to one blog that helped me a lot, higheexistence.com. When I was younger, I read this blog a lot, and in the early days of Meller, in every break, me and the other co-founders, we were sitting there like reading this blog and trying to apply this. It was like one challenge with like one day you eat, one day you don't eat, and we were like, okay, let's try all of these crazy things to build up discipline. And yeah, when like you really like, I think a lot of people today, for example, no, today I got a haircut, and one of the guys we talked about this concept a little bit, and he asked me like, okay, like, so what are you doing in Barcelona? I was like, I really wanted to live here and I didn't find a job, so I just started companies like crazy until one of them worked. So most people they go with one path, and then they think that this is the path they've chosen and they have to stay with this path for a long time. But for us, it was very, very clear that we just start a new company every month. We were like, we have no problem starting every month a new company until one of them is gonna work. And obviously, like everyone who does it, like obviously you're gonna eventually find something good. Like it's actually nearly impossible if you like do something new every month that you don't find something. So I would say a lot of successful people, they jump around a bit more in the beginning, which a lot of people don't want to do. No, but this like, if you have the drive to do that, then again, if you're young and have energy for this, definitely do it. And also, I always tell people, when you're thinking of like when you're young and you have a job you don't like, when in doubt, quit it and go for it. Because the traffic lights will never be more green at this time whenever, because later when you have family and so you have to have a stable income. But in my case, I had it was very easy. Like I had one job when I came to Barcelona, and it was not good conditions, and then they lied to me, and I was like, oh well, if I actually quit and start my own companies, what do I lose? Like, it was not a good salary, it was nothing. Like, I was like, oh, this is actually such an easy choice. I was faced with an easy choice. I was like, oh, like this is
Yeah.
it's not that I'm losing a lot. I could easily find something similar again any day. So I was like, oh well, this is it's like people say it was courage, but like it was actually just like basic rational of like, okay, can I find a similar thing again? Yes. Is it a good time now? Yes. So go for it.
And how did you, that's very interesting. How did you deal with your ego at that time? Because obviously, when you start a company and you have this big idea, you might fail. And then your ego also kind of plays a big role into that, because you're like, oh, I actually thought I'm going to be successful in that. Like, does it mean you don't take yourself so serious, or how do you cope with that?
I That's a good question. I would say, yeah, I don't think I take myself, or I took myself so serious. And also now, like, I think also life is a game, no? So you don't like you cannot take it too
Yeah.
serious. You have to like enjoy it. um but but yeah, like with the ego, no, like first of all, as a startup founder anyway, you will always have a roller coaster. So you have like 2 months where like sales are going crazy and you're like, oh, I figured it out, oh my god. Like, this is like we were like talking to each other like, oh my god, we are so good. We were like you're like completely like losing ground. And then 1 month later we were like, oh yeah, we should probably close the company. Like we had 7 times we were like, okay, yeah, it's like one more week and we'll close the company, this is it. So like, you're always going from, oh my god, I'm the best facial marketer in the world, to, oh my god, I'm the biggest loser, I have no idea what I'm doing. And if this happens the first 2 or 3 times, so you're like, it shakes you a lot. And after a while it's like, ah yeah, it's the next. And also this really helps with if I'm consulting companies and all of a sudden nothing is working. And it really helps if I can calm them down of like, yeah, this is like the Facebook roller coaster, this is what's happening. Like, relaxed and
Yeah.
relax, and I know the steps to get us out of it again, so we'll get out of it again. But like, and also it helps because normally the boss is like going crazy, and if I can calm them down, like, no, this is a normal thing, and you will see. And then after a while, when every time I prove it that we get out of it again, you're like, okay, good. Like, and then they get more calm. But it's yeah. But I really think it's like, I think the less ego you have, the easier your life is. No, that's something that's clearly
It's
very
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 true.
important. So yeah.
Curious to hear, in your personal journey with, I guess, Mela, when you have these great months, everything is amazing, and then you have these downturns where you're like you said, we were thinking so many times we have to close the company next week. What were the things that happened that turned it around again?
No, not like, one of the things is normally like sitting down and analyzing what is not working, which is normally the creative on Facebook. So a lot of times, like, so Mela is a very marketing driven company, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times, in the past, there was the algorithm. Sometimes we have to change things with the algorithm, but nowadays it's mostly the creatives, that people got tired of this creative because we put it out for too long, and we have to like make changes, and we change some of the hooks. So normally we just sit down, we're like,
Mhm.
okay, look, we know we make new videos of cool creators, we make new UGC, we make new unboxing videos. We would change the offers that we currently have running. And yeah, it gets easier after a while. Like, you have your steps to get out of
Yeah.
it. But it's normally, so like, I would say 40% of the time is you need to change the hook of your video, like the first 0.5 0.8 seconds of your video. That's the most sure thing to get you out of a crisis. On TikTok ads, on Facebook ads, yeah, applies to both.
Yeah. Interesting. And it's interesting also to hear, like, to actually take the time to sit down and not make like quick, stupid decisions on how to get out, to actually sit down, okay, and analyze, and then have a clear plan to get
Yeah.
out. I think it's very easy when you're stressed, you're seeing like, okay, we have like cash flow for another week and then we're like done, to not get nervous and just make a stupid decision, to actually say, okay, let's sit down and reflect. What can we actually do? That's really
Yeah.
cool. because I think it's easy not to do that.
Exactly, and also then like obviously like like in the beginning it was like of like the blame game of like me saying okay we have to develop new sunglasses faster, and they were like no you have to do better ads, and I was like no you have to do this better, like and I was like one co-founder was in charge of a website. I was like no you have to do a website better, you have to like this and it was mostly me losing, and I was like okay it all comes down to ads, okay damn it.
It is the marketing.
Yeah.
But you made
Yeah.
it. You made it.
Yeah,
You always turned
it was
around. That's
a
great.
couple of nights of like like when you really see that the effort that you do, like for me it's very motivating if I see that what I'm doing gives me results 3 hours after I do the work. And this is like in very, very few professions the case, but in Facebook ads, it's the case. And therefore, like sometimes I was like in the office until 4 a.m. in the morning because I was like, this is like everything I do makes so much sense for my future. So I was like, this is so much fun. And like when you do and you put an ad live at midnight and at 3 a.m. you already see that it's already working, or like you put sometimes we had like a meeting where, like I love giving this example because like I always tell like when I have like Visa card or Reve or the other clients, they are so slow, or Desigual. They took like 6 months to put on the pixel on their website, no, because they are slow in decision making. I always tell them like, do you want to know the Mellor speed? We had a meeting at 10 a.m. of like, should we open Denmark as a country? We decided yes. At 11 o'clock, the meeting was over. I was down doing the ads for Denmark. At 12:30, we had the first sale in Denmark. So we 2.5 hours after deciding that we're going to open the market, we had the first sale. So I was like, what's your speed of deciding to open a country until you get your first sale in the country, right? So like, this
Yeah.
something that
Because
I loved of like the chaos phase. No, like now is more the organized Mellor days when we have a big team and it's very, very serious. But the chaos phase was so much fun. I loved it.
it sounds like it was a lot of fun, hard work, but a lot of fun at the same time. I like that what you just said about these quick decisions. You just basically, I can't remember where I heard it, but someone recently said like you just have to get to 51% conviction, and then you're ready to make that decision and go for it, and rather fail quickly, because by the time you've had your first sale, decided to enter Denmark, or in that case, then probably had like your first month in Denmark of sales, other people or other companies are still contemplating whether to actually open in Denmark, and you were already maybe opening Italy or another country. So it's like, fail quickly or decide quickly and then move on.
That was also like because like it's a
Was
Spanish
that
company,
also?
Mellor, and I really wanted to sell in Germany and in Austria. That's why I was really like, we were like four founders, and I was always like pushing of like, can we, because I just wanted to sell to my friends also, like in Germany and Austria. So I was like, come on, like Spain is just like one country. Can we please go in the whole European Union? And that made the biggest change. No, like the year that we really exploded was when we went from doing Spain to going from the full European Union. This year we went from 500,000 to 6 million revenue within 1 year. So 12x in 1 year. That was the craziest year in growth that we had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done. That's great. Was that? I was just thinking like the time, with that craziness, the long hours. Was that also the time where we talked about this previous quickly, the burnout phase? Was that due to that, or would you say that was related to something else?
No, I that was like I was definitely working very, very hard, but I was like working very hard and like with a purpose, like and then once you have all of these things clear, and if things are working out, you're less likely to get a burnout. You're more likely to get a burnout if then things don't work out so much anymore, and it's no longer as aligned to what you feel like doing. So again, I blame this podcast, this blog, High Existence, for first of all giving us good ideas, but then giving us ideas of like how you have to be a digital nomad and travel the world. And I was feeling very stuck with like too big of a team in the office, and also when we had like phases of like we were growing very, very fast, but then the year after it was like now we have to prove that we can do this again. And then I think it was like 1.5 years after the crazy growth, so we were already like at over 6 million revenue for a while. But then it was we had the goal of breaking 10, and we couldn't break 10, and then it came through frustrating, and the hard work didn't no longer transfer into results the way it did before. And also it's like kind of ridiculous for me because I studied international business and marketing as my bachelor, but in my master I did management. So I should technically be good at managing people, but this is the one thing I'm like terrible at. So like the more the team was growing, I had to do more management, and I did too much micromanaging, and I did too much of like being there for everyone. So like like two of girls in the team, they always came to me when they had a breakup with a boyfriend, and they explained me the whole story. And I was like, okay, let's sit down and I'll be your therapist for this, like, and I was always doing everything. And like, I couldn't, I was the direct point of contact for way too many people at once. And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, I learned my lesson, and then the burnout happened. So like, I think it was more like the amount of team leading that came to it, which I wasn't feeling
Mm.
than the nerding out on Facebook ads. Because nerding out on Facebook ads is always something that I was enjoying. But I was also like, I'm very sure that this like working until 4 a.m. a lot didn't help.
Yeah, of
Yeah, for
course.
sure. Not having I guess like a ritual or like a rhythm of a lifestyle.
Yeah,
You probably went to bed at 4 a.m. One night you went to bed at 10. One day you got up at 6. One day you got up at 10. I think it has an effect on the body and the mind
yeah.
when there's
But
no clarity
but
on how the
like
day is structured.
in Spain we always like there's a saying of todo es perfecto y necesario, like everything is perfect and necessary. And I really think that with
Yeah.
my burnout it was totally perfect and totally necessary. And I'm kind of happy how I dealt with it, of like right away like going to a doctor, and the doctor was super nice about it, like giving me 1 month 1 month pay off, and so like everything like by the Spanish state and so on. And then I took this time of like doing 10 days of the pasana, of like without talking, which for me is great because I talk too much normally. uh, and just meditating 12 hours every day, waking up every day at 4 a.m. And that was very, very cool. And then afterwards, I went to Thailand, and had some weeks in Thailand. And that was a very, very beautiful time. And then I tried to come back and had another burnout, unfortunately. And then I realized that I have to change my
Mm.
position from being executive and doing everything to more a consulting role where I'm helping from the outside. And then I realized that I really love this part.
Mm.
And then I had more other companies also asking me like, hey, like, can you do this consulting for us? And then I realized that my mom was a teacher, and I always deeply don't want to be a teacher, but she always complained that kids don't listen in school. She's a school teacher, and she was like, I love being a teacher. And for me, as a like one of my earliest memories, I have a lot of cousins. I have like so many cousins, way too many for a German family, which is great. I love it. And we always played school, and I was one of the older ones. So I was always teaching. I was teaching them math or English or something, and it was my favorite game, like just to teach. So like even in my early childhood memories, I was teaching, and I was like, wow, like isn't this cool? Like you're teaching, and people actually go on flight mode because it's so important, and like so. So like when yeah, like and also I realized when sometimes if I was teaching like charities or so, and then I did it for free, people don't value it so much, and they're like, oh yeah, they had to go in and out, and they had to
Mm.
interrupt to take the phone. Every time when companies had to pay a lot, they were like fully writing everything down, going on flight mode, and implementing every single step, and then it worked. So sometimes actually you do people a favor if you charge them well, because then they actually implement it. If
Yeah.
something
Mm.
is too cheap, then they don't take it serious, which is sad, but it's actually true.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I guess it goes also like talking about what the coaching world of things, right? If someone coaches you for free, you kind of just go like, yeah, we'll do it next week again, or maybe the week after. But if you're paying for sessions upfront, like commitment of 6 months, and you've committed probably bigger amount of money than usual to something, you are committed to show up. You are committed to work on yourself, and it's kind of like holding yourself accountable because of that.
That's also
Yeah.
the beauty, no? Like if you like the
Yeah.
beauty of like hacking your life, if you know you like discipline for certain things, like for me, like it makes so much sense to have a personal trainer in the gym, because I show up. Like I know I'm gonna be punctual. I'll show up. I'll do it well. Me and one of my best friends, we share it. So we both normally we would both not arrive so punctual, and then we would go, and then we would cancel. But since we have every Tuesday, we have a personal trainer waiting for us there. Or like we have to go. Like Raul is waiting there, and and or also having I have a personal trainer for breath work that comes to my house, and then every Thursday I do a breath work session. There's no way around it. Like it's already planned. Like it's already paid. So like what was things really make sense. If you want to have habits in your life, and you know you're struggling with them, man, this is a good way around it.
Yeah. I love the breathwork path. I would love to learn more about it. So maybe we first start with like, what are the benefits, or like, how did you get into breathwork, and how did you start with it?
Okay. So for me, I learned about it at Burning Man, which is like an art festival, where a lot of people from Silicon Valley are always going. So it's actually very great to make good connections.
Yeah.
Um, but where like a lot of crazy things are happening, and every day you have new experiences. But for me, the best experience was one of the days I was like, okay, today I'll just take it slow and just explore by myself and see what art works and what things I see. And then there was, like it said, like a holotropic breath work at 3 p.m. And I was like, never heard about it. I'll just go. And I had no expectations. And I went to do a session, and right away had this strong sensation of time completely stopping, of like, oh my god, like I was like completely in the now. I was like leaving my body, looking down from above on my body, and like completely being at full inner peace, full bliss. And the feeling, like, also after the session
Mm.
was over, it lasted for 4 or 5 more days. And I was like, okay, I found something that really works for myself. And like, I think it works for like 40-50% of the population. So I was like, if you haven't tried it, try it. There's quite a good chance it works very well for you. And there's like, there's very different ways to finding this place of knowledge, or of with wisdom. Because so in one of my favorite books, which I just currently read again on vacation, Hermann Hesse, see data, which of course I can highly
Siddhartha?
recommend.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I always
So
read it
good.
again every once in a while. I
Yeah.
love it. So one of the main learnings from the book is like, knowledge can be taught. So like, if someone wants to learn Instagram, Facebook ads, reach out. I'll happily help you to learn this and to do it well, because it's knowledge. You can teach it. Wisdom is something, is very hard to teach. You have to experience it, and you have to learn from experiences. So for me, one of the ways to actually experience the power of now and wisdom is breath work, because you cannot teach it. Like, there's something that, a lot of things that you cannot really grasp with words. But when you're actually doing this habit, which can be like a long meditation, which has a very similar effect, but you have to actually do I would say like a 12 to 14 hour meditation to go to the same effect of a 1 hour breathwork session. So in this, I'm a little bit German, a little bit efficient. I'm like, okay, like let me do a 1 hour session, like,
Yeah.
like maybe it takes 1 hour 10, 1 hour 15, but but you can, like, obviously you go to very similar places. No, like, there's many paths to the same goal. Obviously, people can also take ayahuasca, which is a quick hack, which will also bring you to a similar thing. But it's not. But once, if you get there
Mm.
through work, it's actually deeper. And breath work includes work. No, so like, you really have to sit down, and you really have to breathe, and focus on your breathing for 1 hour. And you only have the effects after 10-15 minutes. And these first 10-15 minutes is the time when people are actually giving up, because we're like, oh yeah, I've been
Mm.
breathing since 8 minutes, and I haven't felt anything. And oh my god, I'm so
Mm.
bored. And where's my phone, and where's my dopamine rush? And yeah, but if you go through it, it's so beautiful.
So when you wake up in the morning, do you start meditating first and then do some breath work, or how do you integrate it in your daily life, let's say? Or do you have any
Mm.
ritual, or do you
Yeah,
practice it
so
every day?
what I do for sure every morning. So the meditation I will do like 4 out of 7 days, and I always do like a 5 minute meditation, because I tried. I mean, every time I did longer ones, I then find good excuses why I don't have time. But if you do 5 minute ones, like you really go for it. But what I always do, like, and this, but this something that sometimes I might skip it. No, I have to be honest, because every time people say like, yes, I have my perfect morning routine, I always follow it. Bullshit. I know these people
Yeah.
who say this in podcast, and like, and for example, I like Tim Ferriss. He never says, but he always follows through with this. Like a lot of people, like they are like, you know. Andrew Huberman is like, I go through this all the time. Yeah. So, but basically, what I would do for sure, and this, like, I would say I would miss it maybe 1% of the time. So I'm very, very, very disciplined with this. Is like waking up and writing three things I'm grateful for, because this is for me makes the biggest. I've A/B
Hmm.
tested every
Yeah.
morning routine ever, basically, but this makes a big effect for me of like priming my mind to be grateful in the morning, which has the biggest effect of happiness ever. But then I will do 20 connected breaths, right? Which for me has a bigger effect and is easier to do. Which means you do 20 connected breaths. So yes, four of them are fast, one is crazy slow, and then you have four fast, one crazy slow again. So you repeat the full circle four times, right? So I can do one if you want. If we like, and I already feel much better after one. But normally you do four times of this, and this I would do a lot. Like this, I would do.
Mm.
I play a lot of tennis and football, so I would do this before games. I would do this in the morning. I would do this before sleeping. I would do this throughout the day before important meetings. So this I would do it quite a lot of times. Like this, just like slowing down and doing the conscious breaths. That really helps.
How does it what would you say, how did it benefit you on a daily basis? Like, would you say you're more present, or like what are the benefits that you kind of do it before meeting or before um the gym, the workout? Is there any like particular
So yeah,
benefit you could
so
think of?
many. So where do I start? No, so like I would say so the easy one, which will get people hooked, is like you actually get a dopamine rush from this. No, so like you actually do this, and if you want, we can even try it together if you feel like it. We'll do as we do one now, and you will right away experience, and the listener can just also do it at home. Like if you want, we can really go through this, so everyone experiences this, and you will right away feel like, oh my god, what's
Yeah.
happening? Like I feel so light and so awesome and happy and like it lasts for like 6 or 7 seconds, which is great. And also like the deep benefit is like, so how often do we actually walk around through our life in a very unconscious way, where we just get rushed from one thing to the other, and
Mm.
we have like thoughts that we don't need to have, like, so most of our thoughts are just thinking about the same problem that we thought about 1 hour ago or yesterday already or 2 days ago. Like, like a lot of thoughts are repetitive. A lot of our thoughts, we always think like, oh yes, our thinking is so important and I'm so happy, I'm so intelligent and I'm thinking all the time. This is bullshit. Like this is like crazy bullshit. Like yes, if you would always think new thoughts and solve new problems, yes, congrats. But what humans actually do is like, we're like let's say like your mom said something weird to you 1 week ago, and you're still overthinking like what she meant with this, or like, oh, my partner made this reaction,
Mm.
or like, oh, he hasn't texted me back or something, like always like repetitive overthinking over one problem. And this doesn't solve the problem. And like really, like we have to get out of overthinking. It's one of the biggest diseases of humanity, like this overthinking, which is something that animals do much better than us, right? So sometimes it's like a surprise to pay when you're too intelligent, of like always overthinking. And so this really helps, like being putting yourself into, okay, which I'm actually now experiencing this now, and which problems do I actually have to deal with now? Okay, very few. Nice. Okay, so good. Let me enjoy. You know?
Like that. So that's one benefit, right? So it helps you basically to less overthink, or do you overthink also
It definitely
quite a
it got
lot
way bigger,
still?
way better, no? But there's days when it happens.
Hmm.
For me also, then like what there's two techniques that help you to get out of it in an easy way. Like, of course, if you do a longer breathwork session, you would get out of it. I mean, actually free, because going into nature, going to stunning, beautiful nature will also mostly get you out of overthinking, which is great. But of course, another
Mm.
thing, like one of the guests in the Happiness podcast, she was a psychologist, and she explained when her clients overthink, she explained to them, like, take these thoughts that you have, and you cannot touch them in a hard way of like going into this, because then you're gonna go jump and you won't get out of this repetitive thinking. But you just take it in a very, very soft way, like a cactus, like how you touch a cactus. You cannot go too hard, but you take it softly and you lift it away to the side. And then you very softly drop it to the side without being aggressive about it. And this advice,
Mm.
I listened to this 2 or 3 times.
Mm.
So a lot of times, because I love also having a podcast, because I can always get advice and then re-listen to it. And this really works for me. So I found that this really, really works for me. Um, yeah, for overthinking, which is nice. You don't overthink too much. But yeah, okay. Now let's do the breath, and
Let's do a breath.
fully
Yeah,
give it your all. So the breath
perfect.
work is
Yeah.
always, it depends on you how well the effect is, right? So the more you do it well, of like focus
Yeah.
only on the breath, like 4 really fast ones and then crazy slow, and all of this 4 times. All right, let's do it together. Ready, Nina and Max? Let's go.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right, I'm ready.
Yeah. Great.
Let's go.
How are you feeling right now?
I like it. I think for me, it's always with breath work. I love how I feel lighter afterwards, right? Like that. I don't want to call it lightheadedness, but you feel like you're lifting off and you just feel relaxed. Your heartbeat goes down. Um, I actually use breath work a lot recently. I
Nice.
play very
Same.
passionately golf. And yeah, so when I play competitions and I can feel how I get nervous, how I get tense before a shot. I actually now, when I notice it and create the awareness, it's like, okay, you're nervous because it means something to you. I'll take a deep breath in and a deep breath out to just sort of calm the nerves before I actually hit the shot. And it works. It really works. You don't go into something that you're not committed to. You actually relax
So
first.
I
And
would
then you move
actually,
in.
I'm very passionate about golf. I'm not good, but I also, my goal, like, so for me, golf is something that I do on my own. Like when I have one time on my
Yeah,
own, and
I
also I
love.
don't count. So like most people like, what, like, but actually I go and like 4 hours,
Yeah,
I go to very beautiful places, beautiful nature, and I would just go and I just don't even count. But I would still, like, like take it serious, and like I would still do this sometimes if I have an important shot.
mm,
Like actually 2 days ago I failed one shot, and I went very down. I had to get a shot. I was like super down. I had to go up on the green, and it was one of the hardest shots I had to pull off. And I was like, okay, I'll do the 20 connected breaths, and I pulled it off, and I was like so proud of myself. I was like, oh my god,
amazing.
like, so like, yeah, it works.
Yeah.
It works.
It works. It works.
And like, so the magic
Yeah, I'm
of
gonna do
golf,
the
when you
connected
don't
breath.
count and actually fully enjoy it, and when you see like, oh, there's a butterfly, oh my god, there's an eagle flying above, okay, and then it's actually
Yeah,
beautiful. But like, I think counting, if you're not good, if you're on my level and you count, that's a very, very good way to ruin a walk, because when you actually get angry at yourself and you're like, I'm not
yeah,
good enough, and it brings down your thinking from your past, or like, oh yeah, my dad said I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, oh yes, I'm not good enough at golf, and then you can like ruin your walk. But if you actually do this thing of like, oh yeah, this is something I'm doing to enjoy, and I'm not counting, and I like have really experienced with nature, but I also have something to do, because for me, I love sports, and for me, I picked up golf in COVID times, because in Germany all the sports were forbidden except for golf,
mm,
because politicians are playing golf. So I was like, okay, I have to do some sports, or I'll go crazy. Because I was working a lot in COVID times. I was like, okay, it was a good time to scale businesses, and um, and then my hobby was golf, and I loved it.
Yeah, and it's great. You get out into nature, which is the combination of doing a sport which is healthy, being in nature which is good for your mindset. Like you said, sometimes just enjoy the walk rather than counting. I think that's
I agree
amazing.
fully. And also sometimes, of course, no, like also for our listeners, it does sometimes bring you better business deals than normal meetings. So once I had a meeting with my account
Hmm.
manager from Instagram, and because normally we would go every 3 months to a Instagram office in Dublin, but therefore where he was coming to visit us in Barcelona, I was like, okay, if we're 8 hours in the office at Meller, what will we get down? We'll get maybe X done. But if we actually go to play golf and we actually, talk and become friends, we will maybe get much, much better deals. And that was exactly what happened. And of course, I let him win also in the end. So like, that's how you get the best. That's how you get the
I
best
hope he's not
deals.
listening.
Uh,
I love that. But Chris, it seems like you are very able to as prime your mind and switch your mind very quickly from like a negative to a positive thought. Were you always like this, or did you kind of train your brain towards a positive mindset? Because you also speak a lot about happiness and
Yeah, I have this
yeah,
conversation quite a lot,
curious about
and
that.
I deeply believe there's genetics which will play 40% of the period, and I think I'm lucky there, but my brain is primed to think positive, happy thoughts a lot. So my normal state is like I feel inner peace and happiness. That would be my normal, like I would wake up, or if I have a bad day, I just know if I go to bed, I will very, very likely wake up and be in this because it's my normal state. I would go back into my normal state after the sleep. So like I'm lucky in this. But I also think it's
Yeah,
60% is training. So I deeply believe that I got way better at it from in the last years, because when you actually really for me, it's just a big passion. I read every book I could get my hands on inner peace and happiness, and I would A/B test, like we were same way how, like, in Mela we have 4,200 A/B tests on different ads, and I think I have even more of my life. In my
Mm.
life, I think, like in Mela we did this, but in my life I think I did even more. I don't have an Excel file. I'm not as strict on this, but the things I've already tried, like ice baths in the morning, like certain things. And when I see, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, and then I would discard some. For example, I've tried, like going at 5 o'clock morning to the gym. It doesn't work for me at all. But it was good when I tried it. But it's just like I just hated everyone. I was like, why am I at 5 o'clock in the gym?
yeah,
Like, what the
absolutely.
fuck am I doing here? But like, you have to try it. No, like, so I would say there's
Yeah, only then you will find
the
out.
beauty is there's no there's like so many things you can learn, and happiness, and Naval Ravikant, one of my favorite podcast producers and book authors, he says it very, very well. Like, you have to understand that being in a good mood is a choice, and it's the most important choice of your life, because it will make everything easier. It will make everything easier. Every meeting you go into, every social interaction, everything will be easier if you're in a positive state. And it's a choice, like it's a skill you can learn. And a lot of people are very focused
Mhm.
of going to the gym and training their body, but there's fewer people actually sitting down and meditating and training their mind. So nowadays in the West, we are in Thailand is different, no, but in the West we are more
Yeah.
into shaping our physical appearance and less into shaping our mind. But whereas actually having a beautiful mind is way more attractive.
It's way more attractive, and I think it's also way more important to have a leverage on shaping your body, right? I think, like, if you get your mindset right, the rest will fall into place. It's like in a car, you can have a great body, as in like a great outside, but if the engine doesn't work, you're struggling. You're always going to be struggling to get everything out of
Yeah,
you.
exactly. I agree fully. So it's so important to have it right.
And do you think also your surrounding plays a big role in it? Like, do you surround yourself with certain people? Not in the sense of, obviously you have your closer circle, but like, do you believe that your surrounding has a big impact as
One
well on
hundred
your
percent.
happiness.
One of the biggest. So I think the most important choice in life is to be in a good mood, because this makes everything easier, and it is a choice. Like, it's like, okay, I will take this serious, and I will write down 3 things in the morning I'm grateful for. I will do a meditation. I will do a mini morning workout of like 10 push-ups on those things. I will get hydrated in the morning. Those things are crazy helpful.
Hmm.
But then the next important decision in life is where you actually live, because people think that they have to live in the place where they are born, which for me wouldn't have worked, because for me, I just don't
Yeah.
like the cold at all. And actually, I think there's an explanation, because my grandfather, he was in a prison in Russia. He was one of at 15 he had to go to war, in the Second World War, and then he was captured at 15 and a half already, because of course you don't know how to fight when you're 15. And he was 10 years in a war camp in Russia, and he was nearly frozen to death so many times. And so in his genes, and then he got my dad afterwards, right? So in his genes there's this deep fear of cold, because it nearly killed him three times. And so uh, and so and he was also nearly starving. So for me, if I go out on a hike or so, I would always bring way too much jackets and way too much food, because my genes are just programmed to this to not happen again. So I'm always, if you're hiking with me, like, my girlfriend's always very very happy, because when she gets cold, she knows I have extra jackets. And if I and I all my friends always love it. I have extra foods for everyone because I was always too German to prepare. But like, so I really believe that, like, living in a place which has like sun, like, I, for example, Barcelona, no. Um, it's just, it makes so much sense to live in places where you feel good. Like, I bought a motorcycle 8 years ago, and since 8 years I drive it every day to office, and I've only driven 5 days where I had to drive through rain. So imagine, I drive every day, and only 5 times it actually rained at the same time I was driving. So like, this is how little it rains here, and how often we have sun. It was just a beautiful example. Because I really know, like, it's only 5 times
I can't
exactly.
wait for it.
Max, warm welcome to Barcelona. We can definitely go to play golf
Yeah,
together here. You just have to
literally.
understand that I'm bad at it, but
Yeah, that's fine. We won't.
exactly.
um, Sounds so much fun. I love it. I have a question also regarding your happiness podcast. How did it come up? Like, what was the idea behind it, and also what is like your mission or vision behind it? Like, where do you want to go with it? Is there any plan, or will you just play it by ear,
Yeah,
basically?
I would answer this question again with a book that I absolutely love. So the book from the Alchemist by
Yeah.
Paulo Coelho, the Brazilian writer. So, and it's
Yeah.
about, like, finding your life's purpose and following your life's purpose. And the easier, so you shouldn't resist to it, but actually fully flow with it, like what your life purpose has prepared for you, and like really like seeing it and embracing it and following it. And that's one of the lessons there. So it was, let me check, it should have been 9.5, like, I don't know if it's 9.5 or 10 months ago, but let's say 9.5 months ago. So in a breathwork session, in a long one, it was 1.5 hour breathwork session. A lot of good things in our life happen in breathwork sessions, to be honest. It was on the first day, like every first day I do breathwork sessions. And um, and I had this very very clear thought, and it was like, sometimes when the thoughts are different, like, it was not like a normal thought that I have in my mind, but it was like a very different thought of like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
I should have a podcast. Because it's like, on Instagram every day people write me, Chris, make a podcast, but they actually mean a marketing podcast. But I was like, I'm already doing marketing stuff all 8 hours every
Mm.
day with my clients. I have two passions. Marketing is definitely one of my big passions, but happiness is as well. And I'm so passionate about happiness. And I was like, oh yes, it makes so much sense to do a happiness podcast, and it felt so right. And I was like, look, and even if no one plays it, this will be like something where I get to talk to crazy, amazing people who I always wanted to reach out to. and I will play it. I will learn from
Yeah.
it. And now it's actually growing crazy fast. Like it's still not where the goal is, because my goal is to have a 8.5 million plays with it.
Mm.
So there's still growth needed, but it's like actually the audience is like super high level audience. Like the other day, the CEO of a huge Spanish company was writing me of like, can you give me the contact of Vanni van Leere? I was just driving to a client meeting and playing your podcast with Vanni van Leere, and I would like to work with her. And I was like, yeah, of course, here you go. So that was like, wow, like these kind of people are actually like playing the podcast. I was like, nice, like the founder of
Mhm.
Desigual is playing the podcast. It was like very cool people. Yeah.
And why? Sorry, Meg. Why 8.5 million?
No.
Is there
For me,
something
it's just
behind it?
it's just
The
on the day
specific
when
number?
I
No.
have
Okay.
my vision board, and on the day when I made the vision board, it was just, for me, it was like, okay, you have to always have big bold goals, because even if you have a big bold goal and then you only achieve half, and I will have 4.2 million plays more or less, and that's already something that's good. No, like with this, it will open you a lot of doors, and you also impact a lot of people. So yeah, like for me, I just put you have to be specific about it. That's why I put 8.5 million. Yeah. And I definitely want to achieve
And
it.
what would you
Like if
say
I
is your
if I would like make 3.5, I'll be like, I didn't fully make it. So like it's definitely a goal.
I have no doubts, Chris. So that will be good. What is like? I'm curious. Like, what would you say is your purpose in life? Why are you here?
So for me, it's to make it broad. It would be very clear to bring light to a world, right? That would be the broad purpose.
Yeah.
The more specific purpose would be to make more people aware that if you already dedicate now, and you already now, even if you have less, if you already now say, okay, I'm gonna give 10% of what I make to charities, but then you'll also follow this, and once you make more, because people always complain with like, hey, why don't the billionaires give so much? But like, it's actually these billionaires who already started when they had less. They are the ones who are very dedicated. So we want more people who already, even if they have less, already take it serious of making contributions to the rest. And
Yeah.
the other thing is
Yeah.
like, really, like I really feel that for me, it's something that I love giving advice to people and giving tips to people, and seeing like what could be the right advice at their life, right? So like, when I see like a friend who is like running from meetings to meeting because he has like this company which is like worth 300 million, but he is like too stressed, and I would, and he asked me, luckily, like, like you can't give advice to people if they don't ask you, but like he would sit down with me and create like, Chris, what should I change in my life? And I would tell him like, look, you have to slow down and fully like be in the moment, like fully say no to a lot of things, and slow it down. And this makes his life so much better and make him better as a boss. And then the chain reaction is that everyone, all of his 450 employees are much happier. So like the reaction can be very big. So like you always want to, like, for me, that's why I like to work with billionaires on this, because also like if I can help to make billionaires more happy and more conscious. And I really, obviously, happiness is a skill you can learn. And of course, on the podcast, everyone who plays a podcast, I really think that if you play a lot of episodes, you will learn a lot of skills. And if you A/B test them, like, it's about then executing them. But if you actually listen and then like test them, there's like, I think there are probably 180 advices already of what you can try, right? And if you test, let's say you say, okay, I'll look for and find 70 of them, and actually I try, and then I find
Yeah.
30 of them are working for me. Boom, you just found 30 habits that make you happier. So it's actually it's not like a thing that, okay, maybe it's gonna work. No, like, you A/B test it and you find the things. For example, yoga for me doesn't work, no, but other things work. And you A/B test what brings you to the now, like, because basically all the things that make us very happy are the activities that bring us fully to a now. When you think about it, why do some people like cooking? Because cooking brings them into a peaceful state where they're fully focused on this. For me, it always brings me into a state of like I'm not doing it good, so I don't enjoy it. But for me, when I paint, I'm like, oh yes, I'm enjoying this, and like and it brings me fully into the now. Or if I'm singing, like dancing, singing, like all the activities that
Mm.
bring you fully into the now are the ones that you should do quite a lot. And definitely, breathwork is one of the ones that bring you into the now, and it stays for a long, long time, which was beautiful. But also, like a great, great hike can bring you into the now. For a long, long time. A very, very deep conversation about the purpose of life, about the universe, about why are we here, can bring you fully into the now. So, and for me, like my mission is to impact billionaires to be more happy, because the concept behind this is like in your lifetime you can reach 3 to 5 thousand people and impact their life, and so I cannot impact on a one-on-one basis. I cannot impact more than this, right? So like, and as a founder, you always think of scale, like how can I make impact at a scale? But if I actually, like, there's 2,775 billionaires in the world, so technically I have enough time to impact all of them. And if they all become more conscious, more happy, the moment you become conscious and happy, what do you want to do? You want to give back and share this. So if all of the billionaires now decide, oh yes,
Mm.
let me work and making more people happy, they will build schools in poor countries. They will give more money to cancer research. They will work on the right projects. If they, for example, one of my hopes is that they find how good breathwork is, and one of the billionaires said, okay, look here, here's this 400 million marketing budget to actually do good marketing for breathwork and then make it a big thing in the world. You can do so many things. So I really think that's one of the cool things. One of my friends is also, like, by the way, he's like working very, very focused on becoming a billionaire, and he's on a very, very, very good path for this. But his goal is not to be a
Mm.
billionaire to then do the rich people stuff, which we all know it doesn't make you happy. And I know enough billionaires to know that they are equally happy or unhappy as us. Like if they follow the habits, they
Yeah.
are better. If they don't follow, they're less. But it doesn't do any difference. There's one difference when you reach a bit of financial freedom, because when you have like you have more freedom, does give a bit of happiness, but everything above that brings you nothing, and there's less studies about it. But for him, he wants to do this because he then wants to impact the world. He says, like, the things you can do once you're on this level, you can
Yeah.
really make change. So what he deeply believes with AI, it will take so many jobs away. People always say, like, no, it won't, blah blah, it won't take your job. This is bullshit. Like, this is for now. We all know it. Like, we all at the level it's evolving, it will take our jobs, and there's no lying about this. And I embrace it. There's no problem with this. But we will need universal basic income, right? And so he's American, and he wants to become a billionaire. Um, I think he needs like 40 to 50 billion to actually say, okay, look, I will pay the first year. Like, like, let's make this happen. US, like, this is what we need. We need universal basic income. And
Mm.
I will actually pay the first year to prove that this is the way to go. And that's one of the things that motivates him. And I think it's a very, very, very beautiful way. Because it's going to be one of the challenges of our generation.
Yeah, that
Like,
that sounds very.
if we
Oh.
take all our purpose from our work, uh, and then this is taken away, um, um, this is going to be one of our challenges of our generation. But if we make art, or if we
Yeah.
take our purpose of making, of contributing to others, which is something which will never go away, right? So like helping others or contributing to others will not go away. Like, this will always be there. And if you take your purpose from this, of like, being the best possible version of yourself, and bringing change on, that's something very, very beautiful. Today also, one of my she also has a woman from the US. And I reached out to her because she also has a happiness podcast, and she was in the charts, one above mine. And I was like, hey, do you want to be a guest on my podcast? Because I loved her content. And today she put out a post which I really love, and I would like to share and give her credit. um, and that was very beautiful what she said. She said, like, when you have a day and you're not feeling good, and you don't know what you should do next and how you should behave, think about, what will the best version of myself do right now. Like, hold yourself accountable of, like, what would the best version of, she's called Katie, or
Yeah.
what would the best version of Chris do right now, like my best possible version. And then you do that. And I was like, nice, I'm gonna apply this. So that was something that I like, on a low day, and we'll always have low days, but it's about how we deal with it. And we're like, okay, what would the best version?
Yeah.
How would he or she deal with this, and what would they do right now?
Yeah, it puts immediately a positive twist on something, right? You look at like what's the best
Yeah.
possible outcome. I really like that too. That's something I think I will apply to next time I have a bad day. I hope it's not too soon, but it will come, and then I'll know what to do now.
Mhm.
I have a question. What's your, really in simple terms, your definition of happiness?
Yeah, that's a so beautiful question. So my definition is very, very clear, because like, like you can have this, for of like jumping around and so, and this is clearly not happiness. This is like short happy moments. The definition of happiness is the moments of
Mm.
full inner peace, where you're fully content. That would be a very, very clear definition of how I see it. That's why I'm thinking of like renaming the podcast from the happiness podcast to the inner peace podcast, because it hits it better. Like what we're actually aiming for is not to be always like completely like exploding, but we're actually aiming for like this state of like being very, very content, very, very relaxed, very, very calm with our thoughts,
Mm.
very, very smart about it, very wise about it. Like that's something like that. With states, when I'm in both
Yeah.
states, I'm like completely blissed out. Like, yeah.
Hmm. I was just also thinking, like, happiness is an emotional state of, very positive and very high. Inner peace can be also something you can find in stillness, and maybe on a day where not everything is going right or well, you can still be at peace with yourself or find inner peace on those days. So it's a nice way to define happiness, because it's like light and dark. They come together, and inner
Yeah,
peace is in the middle.
exactly. So like I think that's definitely my favorite definition of it. And this is actually the way that, like
Yeah.
when you see someone, like it's more likely in older people, when you see this smile of like being fully content with everything. And that's just, yeah, that's such a beautiful state.
Yeah.
And if you make
Yeah.
decisions
It's
out
beautiful.
of this, out of
And Chris,
this state, you make
uh,
much better decisions. So for me, um, today I am today also, me and my girlfriend, we talked about this, of like, what are the best days to make decisions. And like, for example, we talked about when to take the business decisions and which days not to take them. And the conclusion was very, very clearly of like, when you have a day and you're like in the state of complete inner peace and very relaxed, which for me is normally the days after breathwork sessions, right? So like I would do them every first days. So every Friday, I don't normally, also like the office is not so hectic, and then you can make very good long term decision, because you're completely peaceful, relaxed, and so. And if you have a bad day, on a bad day, you normally can only take bad decisions. So like for me, on a bad day, I'm like, okay, good. Today I'm not taking decisions, because one bad decision can set you back so much, right? So like I would actually, of like, okay, I'm in a bad mood, and I decide, okay, I'm not taking decisions right now. Like this is not the time to take decisions. When you're like, oh, you couldn't sleep enough, you're hungry, like this, you will always take fearful decisions, right? When you're like in this state, or like,
mm,
when people are ill. So like there's actually they looked at in the votes, like, in the US you can only vote Democrats or Republicans basically, right? They looked at it in the votes, or like also in the European system. They looked at people, when you're ill, when you're going to vote and you're ill, you're very, very likely to vote right right wing, because it's a, or you would vote the safe options of not
Mhm.
not having any change. And also you're voting out of fear more, right? So you would be more there. And so like there's a lot of things that impact this. So like you don't want to take decisions when you're in a bad mode, bad mood. So really, like, sleep about it, bring yourself to a different state, and then take the decisions. Because most of the times, with business decisions or both decisions don't have to be made on the point. They can wait.
It takes a lot of discipline, though, right? If you are in a negative state of mind, and let's maybe even call it something like anger because you're hungry, you haven't eaten, or you had a bad day, whatever it is, it takes a lot of awareness and discipline to then make a conscious decision to say, I'm not going to make that decision today. I'm going to sleep on it and I'm going to do it tomorrow. Do you think breath work actually had an impact on that, creating that awareness?
Um, so like for me, I didn't fully get the question. So yes, definitely. Like I think it takes a conscious decision to say, okay, I'm not taking decisions right now. But I didn't get the part of like what's the question about it?
The question was with, if you have to take these conscious decisions in a mood where you're, or not in a good mood, do you think the breath work has given you that sort of being present in the moment and being able to take that decision to not make a decision? Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe I help you out here. Chris, the question was only if breath work kind of, supported your conscious decision in
Yeah,
deciding today I make a
for
decision or
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
no, exactly, yeah, no, exactly,
Does
yeah.
this make
Because
sense now? I think it was the
yeah,
network. Yeah.
that makes perfect sense, and
Yeah.
I would say yes. Like I I'm the biggest fan of breathwork because it changed my life so much. Like everything became so much more easy. Like and it keeps like for me, I'm just shocked how it keeps making my life way more easy. Like in February this year, for example, I decided to just see what happens if I do breath work every day for 10 days straight with the best teachers in the world. And so I went to Argentina and I did that. And the result was like that my body decided that it doesn't want to get drunk anymore. So like it puts another thing of my life which would bring me in trouble or would make the days after more difficult or would bring me into decisions I have to then overtake. It just eliminates another thing. So like and it basically how I did it is just
Mm.
like it's not a conscious decision of like, hey, I don't want to drink anymore. It was just like it made me happier on a day-to-day basis. But then the moment if I drink, so if I have one beer, it's okay. But if for a moment it passes this, it would bring immediately a sense of restfulness and feeling sad into my body. So and then my friends are like, Chris, why
Mm.
don't you drink more of us? I was like, do you want me to be unhappy? And they're like, no, of course not. I was like, okay, good. So let me enjoy my non-alcoholic beers. So like, and then they're fully okay with it. Like they're like
That's-
with this explanation of like, I'm sorry, but it actually like it's not like it gives me a hangover the next day. It's actually like 5 minutes after I drink it, I would get unhappy about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, then it just doesn't make sense anymore. And then when you have a life that's so exciting, you don't need to go away from it. It's like alcohol blocks your fear, right? But there's like one of the things I have very little of in life is fear, right? It just when I was young I had for sure, but somehow it went away. So I also when I was single, I always when I was in a club and wanted to talk to girls, I would make sure that I stay sober because when I'm sober, I have more courage to go up than when I'm drunk. So the moment I'm drunk, I actually like it's harder for me. So I would never. For me, it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't. It I don't have a lot of fear in my life, and if you don't have a lot of fear in your life, then the alcohol effect doesn't work because it just blocks your fear. But if you don't have it a lot, then there's not a lot to block.
That's interesting because
Yeah,
usually you would say
for
when you drink
me, yeah,
alcohol,
not
it
at
would be
all. Like for
easier
me,
to go
it's
up
so
to
easy
someone, right? And talk to them. Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
to people I don't know. Like sometimes when I was traveling by my own, and I was like a group of 8 people, and they talked about like going to a place, and I would just approach, hey, do you mind if I join? And they're like, yeah, of course, it's so cool that you come up and you're like this, or like, yeah, or like when you can't sleep but your neighbors are doing a party, and you're like, oh. I don't know these people, but why don't I just go up and I bring a bottle of wine and I'll knock and like, hey, can I join? Because I can't sleep anyway, and like these kind of things, it make your life much easier if you just embrace. Like I think that humans are inherently good, and like the more you do these things and you go, you always get good feedback from people, and the more it encourages you to do these things. So yeah.
Mm.
Like I have also this obviously underlying belief that we're all one, and we're all at different stages of our um, like we are all, yeah, we're all one consciousness, so we might
Yeah,
as well
absolutely.
all get along super super well. And my grandfather also said his last words before he died, which was 5 weeks ago. He said, you know, the most important thing in life is just to be kind to each other, but
Mm.
to the max. Like just be so radically kind to each other. And I really really love his. He was my idol.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. Um, can we come to your breathwork session in the future? Are you
Yes,
going to
yes,
host
yes,
some,
yes. So
or
like
what are your
in two
plans?
weeks, actually, I'm hosting a session for five billionaires here in Barcelona. But I will do more. So like I think in 4 weeks or so,
Yeah.
we could I could host one again. And if Max, if you're in Barcelona, then definitely I will I'll happily I'll happily invite you.
I'll be in Barcelona, but I might not be a billionaire yet.
But like it's yeah, it's like obviously
But
so
I'll
because
work
it,
on
it
it.
doesn't scale so much. I if I can pick, I pick it to people who can make a big impact. But you also, if your podcast, you make a big impact, right? So and obviously everyone, I'm happy to help everyone. It's just sometimes when you're like one-on-one sessions, like they don't scale, right? So you have to be a bit like, sometimes in life you have to learn a bit to say
Mm.
no, and if not, your life will be get too hectic. Like for example, I was very stressed with my WhatsApp, because it's just I was really trying to be kind to everyone and to reply to everyone, but at one point I was like, I put my phone away. The next day I have like 280 messages, and I'm like, all right, okay, I'll reply again. Okay, bam, doesn't work. So I was like, okay, you have to actually stop replying, because if not, it's not gonna stop, right? Um, so that was something that for me was super hard lesson to learn. I was really struggling with this. Like once the public speaking started, and people were like, oh yeah, you can easily reach out to someone on Instagram or WhatsApp or any channel. And then like that's something that gets very tricky, right? And Patrick always tells to me like, obviously we're on a very different level, but he always takes this example like of like, when I tell him like, oh come on, there's someone telling me like their life story and they're asking for advice and for help, but I don't know them, and like I don't know, like I cannot give advice to everyone, because like I would not sleep. And he always tells me like, look, for sure the same message gets also sent to Barack Obama. Do you think that he stresses about replying it and he does it, or he has someone doing it? And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because like he's also a super kind person, and he would also try to help, but you cannot. There's a point when like when people in the closer circuit have to step in and help, right?
Yeah. How do you handle it now when you get so many
Um,
messages on
so
Instagram? Do
yeah,
you have a
so one of
strategy or?
the strategies of like I was like thinking about it for a while, and when Patrick also told me that he gave it to his assistant, and his life is much easier, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a very good advice. And so I don't get those messages anymore, because it's someone handling it, which is nice. And yeah, and on WhatsApp, I really prioritize of like what's important for now, and if it's not a super important thing, then
Yeah.
you know it's okay.
And how do you handle your phone? Like, do you have times where you say, like, okay, I have
Yeah,
1 hour in the
I
morning, I get back to everyone or everything that is important, and then you kind of, for the next part of the day, you're
yeah,
more
I handled in
present,
a
you
way
don't use
which
your
now
phone
works
as
really
much.
good for
Or
me,
how do you
but
handle it?
my best friends and my girlfriend complain a bit, because my way of of handling the phone now is it works great. But it's basically I don't leave flight mode before 11 a.m. And so the first 4 hours of the day, would just be like, where I proactively work on the projects that I want to work on. Like, so you don't work on the agenda of other people, but you really every week you push one big thing, and you push this big thing
Mm,
forward, right? You make one big thing happen. So for me currently this week, I'm working on making this workshop in Bali happening, and then next week I'm going to working with this workshop in retreat at Necker Island, Richard Branson Island happening, and then one in Barcelona. So like I'm planning things that would make my life epic, and like with people, with other amazing founders, um, who are there, and then doing great and conscious things together, and scaling our companies, but also scaling our, well, like, working on being more kind and happy and conscious in life, and doing breathwork sessions together. So that would be like, so I would not leave flight mode before 11, and then I would leave it and reply for 1 hour and check what's important, and then I would go back on flight mode at 12, and then I would be back on flight mode until 5, and then go out of flight mode and 5 to 6 reply, and then go back on flight mode. So like, now you can see how people don't like it sometimes. But we're
Yeah.
living
So your
together, so it's
girlfriend
easy.
isn't happy about it, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay. One more question about the retreats you're hosting. That sounds very interesting. Can
Yeah,
you
so
tell us
it's,
a
it's
little bit
it's
more
something
about
like, I
it?
always like to
Yeah,
listen
what you're
to
planning.
what people want, and what I would want, and I'll see if there's something that we can combine. No, and a lot of people were reaching out of like, hey, from all the speeches I was giving, and the podcast, and they're always like, hey, it's all digital. Like, can there be like a in-person event where we actually together for a week, and uh, and then
Yeah.
I was like, okay, everyone who's interested, let's do a big Zoom call, because I really believe in like asking people for what they want, and then also bringing in what I really want, and then making something amazing happening. And I was like, before creating a product and doing something, we had like a massive call with a lot of people on Zoom, because you can have big Zoom calls. And I was like, hey, so what do you want? Like, how many days should we go fully into marketing and look at your ads and grow your companies? How many days should we go into breathwork, and how many days should we go into inner peace and happiness? And then we made this week together, which everyone agreed of. They want 3 days of full marketing, but in these days, of course, already like every day is a breathwork session. So also in the marketing days, there's 1 hour breathwork
Mm.
session for everyone. So we'll fly in the best breathwork coaches, and everyone will get a one-on-one session from a different person every day, and so everyone gets a session every day, breathwork session. We do a morning ritual together always, but then we go fully into marketing for 3 days, and then the other 4 days will be one day full breathwork theory, and 3 days full on, where I share all my advice on all the habits that I have learned on inner peace and happiness, and also there will be guest speakers sharing their advice on happiness and inner peace, and how we can grow our companies to really make the most impact in life. And for people who haven't found yet their purpose in life, how to find your purpose in life. Because actually there's many tools, and for example, Jordan helped me. There's many tools how you can find your purpose in life, and it can be taught. So like, and this day I'm very looking forward to this day of like finding a purpose in life. And then one of the days will also be, and this will also be one of my favorite days ever. Today with my mom, we talked about it. Of like, she said this today of like, hey, maybe soon I'll do a day without eating. And I was like, it's a great idea. These are the best days ever. So like, one of those days will be one day without phone, without eating, without talking. And
Mm.
everyone, for example, the one in Bali would be perfect. Everyone walks off to rice fields in Bali, and you have one day where you just sit there and be with yourself and listen to your inner voice and what you really want. Because always it gets distracted, but when you actually feel what you really want, and it will be one day of like, yeah, no talking, no phone, no eating. And when you don't eat for a whole day, it's
Lovely.
actually crazy how much energy the digestive part of our brain takes. Because after the 3 marketing days, people will be exhausted,
Mm.
because like, I can share information which will take 2 weeks, so I have to, or more. So I have to pack everything in 3 days. So we'll go quite fast, and we'll go very, very advanced. So after this, people will be exhausted. So then this day of like, not eating will actually be crazy, because when the level of energy you have then after this day is like, people will be shocked. Like, when I experienced it the first time, I was like, this cannot be like this. Like,
Yeah.
why is not everyone doing this? Like, it's crazy. If your digestive system just rests one day, how much extra energy you have to actually, to actually think, and to actually do sports, and to, yeah, just to feel fully energized.
Yeah. Wow, it sounds
Perfect.
very
Yeah,
interesting. I would love to
yeah,
learn more about
if
it.
also if you want to come, there's on the
So
4th
so
of September we
keep us
have the
posted.
next planning call with the whole group. 4th of September at 7 p.m. You have Zoom. I'll definitely, I'll put you in. Nice. I'll put you in for
Yeah,
this.
we would love to join. Yeah, great. Cool. We have a closing tradition
Nice.
of we have conversation cards from Stephen Bartlett,
Perfect.
and we always choose one for our guests. So I would choose one for you,
Mhm.
and then you're more than happy to answer.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, great. Do you do enough to keep learning?
Okay. So like this, and this is something that right away, the first thing that came into my mind was like, no, you're doing it wrong, Chris. And this is like, and then the second thought I had was like, yes, this is the voice of my dad, and like, and then I was like, okay, like calm down, this is this. So I would probably still. So I would say from a point of view of how much I could exhaust myself to learn every skill, I could probably learn more. Like for example, the other day I was getting a bit frustrated with myself of like, why haven't I learned coding yet? I was like, so many of my friends are now coding and it makes their life easier. Like why? It's something that obviously I could learn. Like, it's like nowadays with YouTube and
Mm,
ChatGPT and so any skill you want, there's no excuse. That's a bad thing. I have no excuse of not learning to code, right? So I was like, why haven't I learned it yet? But but if I would go back from this first thought, like it's sometimes good like to share your thoughts, like how your mind works. No, so the first thing would be like, I could probably do more. But then the second thought would be like a lot of times you learn by doing less, right? And like this August, I fully allowed myself
mm,
to have extra hours every day to read, and I'm seeing that this really impacts like this slowing down life, and then all of a sudden you become hyper aware of your thoughts, of your life, of your direction, and so in this way I would say yes. I would say of like first of all, I want to share with the audience that please always be aware that you have enough and you are enough. Like that's something that's so important. And when you have something
yeah.
like that overachievers have sometimes, where have like a lot of like sometimes people all want to be overachievers, but a lot of times when I see other overachievers, I'm like, actually I'm feeling a bit sad for them because I know what's going on in their head, and they have this voice of like, you're not enough, and this drives them to be with overachievers, like like and you see, I feel sad for Elon Musk because he achieved very cool things, but he's not enjoying them because he just has to keep on going because he's so driven. And I have a lot of people who know
Mm,
him personally, and he's not in a good place right now. Like he's very stressed, and and you always like, I think for me, we always have two sides of the coin, right? So for me, I'm kind of embracing this sometimes, but like I know I will always be driven enough to do new things in life because I think even with all meditation is never going to go fully away, and actually I love it, sometimes of like I think I would have a tendency of becoming too relaxed and of like, oh, I've already achieved everything I wanted to achieve. So, and kind of this way of like this motivation of this energy of like get going and so to like now you can like help more people, you can dedicate more, you can like, and I love it. So like this always drives me to learning. So I would say that's something that's good. And for example, one thing I've learned this week of like by fully like just hiking and reading and so like is like always know like as a matter of conscious experience, the reality of our life is always now. And of course like knowing
mm,
it from knowledge, everyone knows it, but knowing it from wisdom, from another way of like really living it, of like, okay, like I have to be now also be fully present in the things I don't like, because a lot of times we are doing things we don't like, and if we can then multitask with having our phone also on it, like you could, there's one example, like that's where you wait for a bus, which could be a great experience to actually meditate and like be present and to enjoy and watch around, and probably you have like birds around you and like it's nice. Or you could be on your phone and I think the most addictive thing is the Instagram Reels, and then fully fall into this, and then you don't live in the now at all. Like you get bombarded by a very strong algorithm written by the smartest people in the world, and you're currently tired or exhausted, and you don't cannot defend yourself against all this, because the algorithm really learns. No, like in the beginning, it was horrible for myself. I was like, oh, yeah, they don't know me. It's perfect. But now they fully understand that they will show me the funniest golf videos, and I'm like, damn it, that's exactly what I wanted to see. Or a most amazing, well, you see a snowboarder doing a double backflip, or you see a great crazy football goals, and I'm like, no, now they got me, and. And you have easy dopamine, no,
It's so true.
and yeah, that's a very very tricky thing to not take the easy dopamines, but to resist. And that's something that that's also one of the reasons why I'm so much in flight mode, right? Because the more you work with Instagram, Facebook ads, the more you learn how well the algorithm of Facebook, Instagram works, and how much you should actually protect yourself against it. Which is also something that who was the guy who wrote the book Homo Deus, this Jewish genius. He also wrote Sapiens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so basically, what
Sapiens,
what
yeah.
what, what he
I
what
can't
he
remember
he
the
talked about
name.
also is like we have to become more conscious because we need to, because the algorithms are becoming so strong, and if we are not, we'll be slaves to them. So we have to actually, and I really hope they'll teach this in schools also, because we have to find ways to learn to deal with our phones, and it will be way way worse. Like if we are addicted now to our phones, imagine how addicted we're gonna be to the Apple Vision Pro. And of course now it's like 3.5k. In 2 or 3 years it will be like 800 euros. It'll be Apple Vision Pro as SE, and everyone's gonna have it. And then, well, if you're hooked, and I for me, I'm a
Mm.
early adopter, so I had a lot of VR and AR glasses already, and it's so easy to get hooked to them, way easier than to phones. So if we're not conscious about protecting us from them, this is going to be a big threat for us. And then you take them off, and all of a sudden, because you
Yeah.
haven't built the life, and then your life is just so sad. And then then that's why also, like, we have to be so careful of not spiking depression rates and all of those things. And like, that's something that the big companies are not are pushing away responsibility of, like, no, we're not driving up depression rates. And I really hope that they will make more and more
Yeah.
studies about it, and then they would have to counteract on this, right? There would be something that because I'm very sure that the negative output is actually there and can be proven, but we just, no one has put the work into it. But the amount of data that Facebook has about you is crazy. About me, I downloaded this like 8.51 gigabytes in a text file, and we're using it in the smartest possible way. Like, like they keep learning what are my current passions, my current interest, and they keep feeding me the most addictive content. And um, and and for me, I work with algorithm, so I understand it
Absolutely.
more. But if someone is not, and someone is like not having the most
Mm.
exciting life, and then you can get easily swallowed and stay putting so many hours per day on these platforms, and that's what we have to avoid at all cost. And I understand also why we're in a dilemma, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's like if there's like a drug crisis in a country, then the government can easily step in, like there was a or opioid or opium crisis in China, and the government can step in and help. But this is something that the government cannot really tell people to use their phone less, right? Because people would feel that is a invasion of their privacy, but it would actually be come from a good place of, like, hey, we actually want to help. So
Yeah.
we are so stuck in a
Yeah.
dilemma, and that's a very big thing to think and worry about. And I hope people come up with a solution. And I think currently the solution is really like my solution is breath work, because it brings me into more conscious states, and where my life is more awesome than being on the phone, and then being more aware of, like, I don't want this. But on a bad
Yeah.
day, you're back into it. And also the YouTube algorithm, like, for me, that's the biggest one. when you actually have to do a task, I had to, like, make the slides for the AW speech, and like I'm like, I'm nearly finished, but like now the last, I'm not feeling it. I'll just go to YouTube for 1 hour, and boom, I was like, wait, did I just spend 4 hours on YouTube? Damn it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
They
the
know
bad thing is,
exactly what you
I
want to
found the
watch.
most amazing channels. Like, one channel I can share with you is Oversimplified, which is a great channel. And kurz gesagt, these two actually provide value, but most channels are just so addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. Great. I think that's a nice way to end our podcast today, Chris. I really enjoyed it. I think I learned a lot today. I know I learned a lot today. And I'm very excited to use it, especially the breath. The next time I'm standing over a
No,
golf shot,
really try
I
for
will
you and
definitely think of
for our
you.
listeners also, like
Um,
try tonight to make the 20 connected breaths, 20 conscious breaths, very connected, before sleeping, and you will see it. And also do it in the morning, like do it at least these 2 times. But then when you see the effect,
yeah,
also try to do it on more things. Like you have an important Zoom call coming up, do it. Like, or you have a podcast recording coming up, do it before. Like in all kind of ways, you will see that, or just
yeah,
No.
sometimes people don't want to do it 20, but just be like, slow down and do just at least just one conscious
yeah.
breath.
Nino
You
and
fully
I
like,
have that
okay, I'm
too.
just right now, I'm only breathing. And then, and the last thing I want to share, I know we already over time, but I really, that's something I
No,
really
please
learned,
do.
is like,
It's
the goal is not to think more, the goal is to think less, obviously, right? And because the less you think, the
Yeah.
more your brain can actually like go to the spa and take a relaxing break between the thoughts. And then when it thinks again, it thinks a way more qualitative thought, and way more a way smarter thought. So
Mm,
you actually, what
true.
you want is that your brain is at constant rest, and when it faces, let's say the problem is, let's keep in marketing space, the sales are going down in Denmark and we have to react. But then it faces a problem and you're completely rested, so you can put all your energy on it and you can quickly solve it, and then go back into a very restive phase where you make maybe 4 to 5 thoughts a minute instead of like hundreds of thoughts we have all the time going around. No, so the less you can think, the higher the quality of your life will actually be. And that's something that you will also see, that you need less energy because the brain needs so much energy, you know. And when you actually think less, but you think the thoughts that need to be thought, that you have way more energy to achieve what you want to achieve, and things get much easier.
yeah, yeah. Our
Yeah.
brain is like a
And so
muscle, right?
what
We can
exactly?
only
So
do that much work every day.
why would we let it do the thought that already has done yesterday, which it hasn't solved? You know, there's something. A lot of times we think thoughts that we've already thought 10,000 times. We like, hey, if I finally think another time, maybe this time I find the solution to it. No, you know. So all right.
Yeah. No, true. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Chris. We wish you, obviously, first of all, you have amazing energy. I can tell why you teach and live happiness so much. So thank you for that. And also for all the great work you do and bring into the world. And yeah, it was a great conversation. Maybe we have you one day again on
Pleasure,
our
pleasure.
podcast.
And to all the
And
audience now, like
yeah,
after
thanks a
finishing
lot.
the episode, you can choose from 80 million thoughts you can think. So choose a high qualitative thought for your next thought.